Make the ground shake.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host GamerK, and it is time for another video. And this one is a little bit on the, well, not the weird side, but not exactly some of the normal stuff I do. I mean, I do give my opinions about stuff, and this one is no different. Last year, I got into the Ravensburg game, Disney's Villainous. And last month, they came out with their new expansion, Despicable Plots, which featured Gaston, finally, Lady Tremaine, wasn't sure they were really going to do her, and everyone loves the Horned King from Black Cauldron. Okay, that was one that I did not picture coming, and last year, they even came up with a spin-off game, Marvel's Villainous, which is its own separate game and cannot be mixed with the Disney one because of its different rules, different characters. So, early this month, they announced that their first expansion was going to be released, featuring Loki and two other villains who are going to keep a secret. I haven't played the Marvel one yet because, well, I'm not playing that game with only two people. But it did get me to thinking, like, because the new expansions came out, I'm thinking, what other expansions could they do, and what villains could they do more? I'm talking about the Disney one, not the Marvel one, because, again, I haven't played it, so my knowledge on the Marvel villains is only my experience with Spider-Man games, Spider-Man shows, Spider-Man movies, and any of the Marvel movies. I still haven't watched them all. But, when it comes to Disney, I'm very well-rounded because I'm a big Disney nut, as you can tell by the shirt and a lot of the time when I do my Disney videos. So, I came up with two new Disney Villainous sets that hopefully can be released maybe late this year, maybe next year if possible, because by looking at my shirt, they've pretty much done everyone on the shirt right now. So, and there's big villains from very good movies that haven't been done for, maybe they're waiting for a good idea set to come in, or they're just working on ideas. But here are my ideas for certain villains. Now, these are 100% my ideas. I did have to do just a little bit of research to see how these characters can be done for the Villainous game and how their whole game mechanic works. So, starting off is a set I like to call Sinister Strategies, and it will feature characters who have done sinister things and also have had, I think the word for it is very meticulous plans going throughout their respective role in the movies. We have Shan Yu, Oogie Boogie, and Radcliffe. Seriously, how has Shan Yu not been in here yet, and yet Horned King and Lady Tremaine both are? And also Pete from the Steamboat Willie of the black and white movies. So starting off, I will be going through what I think each character's, what their cards could be, what their strategies could be. It's not going to be a really long video because it is my opinion. So starting off, we have Shan Yu from everyone's favorite, Mulan. And why they didn't have him in the live action one, but they turned Hayusuba into a witch, I'll never understand. Shan Yu's goal, basically for people who haven't seen my Disney Villainous guide videos, or people who haven't heard of the game, basically the objective of the game of each villain is to complete the goal that they did not do in the movie in one way or another. For example, Yzma had to defeat Cusco. Maleficent had to have 4 curses in every area. 1 curse in each of the 4 areas. Or Captain Hook defeat Peter Pan at the Jolly Roger. Basic stuff that happens in the movie, but done in a way of a card game. So Shan Yu's would obviously be something along the same lines of Captain Hook defeating Peter Pan. You have to defeat the Emperor while at the palace. Now, I'm going to tweak it a little bit. And a good thing about Shan Yu is, he's in the movie a good majority of the time, but he doesn't have like I don't know what the word is, a prominent role in the movie as some of the other Disney villains do. Because Mulan doesn't meet him until the tongue shall pass, and then at the palace for the climax of the movie. So I think Shan Yu's whole strategy could be about building up his army. There would obviously, kind of like how Scar has a good majority of hyenas in his deck. I will get to Scar when I get to him. But, there could be, a good couple of cards with the Hun army. Yes, Huns. It's been a while since I watched. My mind gets a little fuzzy. So building up his army with cards could be cool, like Intercept, which would be a card that would allow him, if there's more than 2 heroes in play, he can search his deck and add up to 2 Hun cards, because that would be like a subtext of card it would just be an ally, up to the number of card cost for the hero. So example, if the heroes on the board have a cost, they don't have a cost, but a power level of 3, and another one having a power level of 4, that would equal 7. So you can add 2 Huns from your deck that total card cost 7 or less. So that's one thing I like about Shan Yu in the movie. He takes advantage of his enemy and uses it to his strategy. For example, having Hayusaba finding that doll with cannon sulfur and the white hair that his Hun were able to identify immediately allowed him to come up with a strategy in order to ambush the soldiers, leading to one of the biggest massacres in Disney history. Which I really, really enjoy, to be honest. A lot of his cards would be using... the whole point of the opponent is to screw you over with fake cards and get heroes on the board, whereas Shan Yu's cards could basically use that to his big advantage, because that's what he did in the movie, so why not use it in his strategy for the game? And Hayusaba would be very cool, because once Hayusaba is played, he'll have an activate ability. So activate it, and you can add an item from your discard pile to your hand. So basically, Hayusaba will pretty much be like a Monster Reborn, kind of bring stuff back from the discard pile in order to use it again and again. Now, a big thing for Shan Yu to defeat the Emperor would probably be to have his sword on the field, obviously, because that's what he did. And Emperor would have to be at the palace area, which would be on the far right of the board, while Shan Yu's character piece is right there as well. You would have to have a vanquish action. No! Instead of a vanquish action, you would have to play a card, Bow to Me, which will be a card if the amount of power on your field is greater than all the cards on the fate side of the board, you may defeat a hero at your location, but Bow to Me must be played at the location that Shan Yu's character piece is. So that would be a cool way. So it's literally Shan Yu defeating the Emperor, and it would be a cool way of doing it. A bunch of cards could definitely help out too, such as... Actually, you know what? Shan Yu wasn't in that much, so my limitations on creating cards is very limited. But fate cards would be pretty cool. Like Mulan could have Ping and her real self as cards. Ping would be the weaker one, as he's mostly used to intercept attacks from the Huns in order to protect other heroes, whereas Mulan gains power for every ally on the board. And the three numbskulls, Yao, Ling, and Chen Po, would all have their respective abilities in order to assist in stopping the Huns. Shang would be an incredible card, like maybe the second best card in the game next to the Emperor and Mulan. He would definitely be able to limit how many allies an opponent can have on the field at a time. So if you want to have more characters, you need to get rid of Shang immediately. Also, Mushu could be there. Like, he could be like a double-edged sword. Like, if an ally, like basically an ally for Shan Yu is at Mushu's location, Mushu loses 3 strength. And when Mushu is, and when there isn't an ally at Mushu's location, all heroes gain 3 power. So yeah, because Mushu kind of screws things up in the game, in the movie, he would definitely screw things up in the game. And obviously, we'd have cards called Make a Man Out of You, Reflection. They have to do it. And the Emperor would definitely be one of the best cards. Like, maybe give him 10 power, which would be the max amount of power that any character base level could have. And have him have an ability like, the Emperor may only be defeated at the palace. That way you can't win the game so easily if you get him on the board. And the big thing is the palace would be locked until the card an effect that you play called Survival, which would be depicting Shan Yu coming out of the avalanche after the avalanche, showing that he's still alive, and only then will he unlock the palace, because it's at that point when we finally get to go to the city. A condition card that he could definitely have would be Infiltration, which will show the guards in the dragon costume. When an opponent so this one would be hell dependent on your opponent defeating a character. When another player defeats a hero with 4 or more strength, play what did I call it? What did I call it? I just had it. Dang it, I hate not intercept. I'll go back and remind myself, but play this card, and you may search your deck for up to 1 Hun. Play it immediately to any location. That is unlocked. Infiltration, I just remembered it. See, it takes me a while. So yeah, Shan Yu's deck would basically be more about getting out a lot of Huns, reusing effects and items, while the hero deck would be more focused on unifying the army and preventing the Emperor from going down without a good fight. And there needs to be a card with the 3 guys and Mulan and the geisha outfits. It needs to happen. I'm telling you. And Cricky definitely needs to be a character. Maybe when Cricky is defeated, reveal the top card of the Fate deck. If it's a hero, play it. If not, discard it. So, good luck or bad luck. Man, I did a lot of Shan Yu. But, you know what? He's one of the good ones. Next, we've got the Gambling Boogeyman. Although he don't play fair. Oogie Boogie, one of my favorite villains. As you can kind of tell by the artwork a little bit. This one is a little bit of a stretch, considering it, even though it is Disney, it's not fully Disney. And I've kind of made a rule about not doing any of the live action villains like Barbossa or Davy Jones. Basically on principle, sticking to only the animated and the cartoon villains. So it looks like we won't be getting a Winnie the Pooh one anytime soon. Oogie Boogie is one I've had to deal with thinking about for a good couple months. Because, in all honesty, he only shows up in the last third of the movie, which doesn't really bode well for him. But all honesty, I think it could be done well. His objective would be to start your turn with 12 capture tokens. So basically, going off of, let's see, who needs, of Lady Tremaine, no, not Lady Tremaine, Mother Gothel needing 5 or 10 trust tokens, which would be by manipulating Rapunzel into coming back, so you gain trust. This one would be capture tokens, which is essentially the same thing with power. And Oogie's deck would be heavily gambling based because he is the gambling boogeyman. In order to get capture tokens, he would have to have Sandy Claus in the torture chamber for a number of turns. Like at the end of your turn, if Sandy Claus is at the torture chamber while you have, unless Jack is on the board, you would gain a capture token. And I went with 12 because, well, 12 days of Christmas, 12 months in the years. I just went with 12 because it fits. So a good majority of Oogie Boogie's cards would be having to get rid of certain characters while not getting rid of Sandy Claus, because he is the goal. He won't be a tile like the Horn King or Mother Gothel has. It will be a simple card, but you will have to find him in the deck and play him and get him to the torture chamber in order to, gain all those tokens. The torture chamber obviously will be at the beginning side of the board, and then we will have Halloween Town, and then we'll have the Hinterlands, and then we'll have Christmas Town at the far end of the board. So, and obviously when he's played, Santa will immediately go to Christmas Town, and using cards like Lock, Shock, and Barrel, the Bathtub, and maybe a card, Kidnap the Sandy Claus, lock him up and see. Using those cards will get Sandy over the board as quick as possible, while other cards will allow you to gain gain capture tokens by defeating a couple of characters. And as much as I love the good majority of characters in The Nightmare Before Christmas, we would have to limit down to a good couple of them, like the Mayor, Zero, Sally, the Reindeer, obviously, Jack in his Santa outfit, and of course, Dr. Finkelstein. We would have to have like the main ones in there because I'm not doing a whole list with all those other characters because they only have like a couple spoken lines and they're not really that super important. And their abilities would be focusing on getting rid of capture tokens by rescuing Santa Claus, and at the same time, making Christmas could be a double-edged sword. Like with making Christmas, if Santa Claus is in Christmas Town, Oogie would lose a capture token. But if he's either in the discard pile or at the torture chamber, Oogie would gain a token. So cards like that depend if Santa is in the realm and where he's in the realm, because it kind of works that way. So the opponent would have to make sure to get him away from there or find a way to get rid of him in general, which is not going to be easy because a big thing with Oogie's deck is obviously gambling, but I'm not going to add dice to the game because I don't want to include dice in a card and token game. Another way to go about it is Oogie's deck would be heavily focused on having high-priced cards, like his abilities, his machinations in the torture chamber, the traps. That could be a type of card where once a condition has been made on the board, the trap will activate, causing a character to be defeated, searching your deck, or even, returning a card. Or maybe shuffling shuffling the Fate deck, shuffling your own deck, stuff like that. Because other cards have had different attributes for cards, such as the Evil Queen having ingredients, Hades having Titans. So Oogie could have traps for all of his machinations. And another big thing about certain cards is like a roll of the dice could be each, like, you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, and if the number on them equals, or if the number is equal or lower, that seems a little too hard or cliche, or kind of cliche. One thing that could definitely be done, except for the gambling thing, is Lock, Shock, Barrel having their own unique abilities in order to help. Or maybe if they are sent to the discard pile, an effect goes off where, because, you know, they're troublemakers, they're not done at the discard pile. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking on Oogie Boogie and Shan Yu, so now I'm going to get to the third character of this set. And if there's one villain that hasn't been done, which should be done in Kingdom Hearts and in this game, it's Governor Radcliffe from Pocahontas. It's mine, boys, so mine me that gold. Which is basically the whole plot of the game, except I'm going to amp it up a little bit. With Native Village unlocked, complete conquest. This one took a lot of planning because it wasn't to kill the chief. It wasn't because we already have one with a unique win opportunity, one with defeating a character opportunity. Let's do one with a really unique objective. So the whole objective of Radcliffe and his party was to basically discover a new world and conquer it in the name of England. So I think Radcliffe's big focus would be to have a lot of power in reserve in order to play certain cards. Like, for this, obviously, there would only be one way for the Native Village to be unlocked, and that would be for the Compass to be played. But the Compass would have to be in the Fate deck. No, wait, that wouldn't work. Maybe with the... Oh, boy, how do you get it unlocked? You know what, maybe if the Compass is on the board, and honestly... Opportunity Strikes. This could be a card. Opportunity Strikes. When John Smith is in the discard pile, and you have at least one item at every location, you may play Opportunity Strikes, which, because he's defeated, essentially he's taken to the native camp and the native village, and that's when the whole Savages song plays, and that's his opportunity to make it big for himself. So you would have to have fort, gold, and other cards in each area on the board, except for Native Village, in order for it to be unlocked while John Smith is in the discard pile. If he's in the Fate deck, then he's not... then he can't be used. No, have John Smith be in the villain deck, because essentially he is a villain, but he's expendable. Basically, because he falls in love with Pocahontas, which I still love. A good number of... he could have, like, town... locations could be the fort or Johnstown. I think that's what it's called, Johnstown. I think. Then the Riverbend, Grandmother Willow, her tree being the location, and then the Native Village being the locked location at the far side of the board. So with Native Village unlocked, he would have to have the card Conquest, which requires you to have at least one item on every spot on the board except for Native Village. And playing the card Conquest, you would have to pay power in order to defeat No. Just pay a certain amount. You have to have all the cards on the field and do conquest because we already have enough defeating certain characters for objectives. So this one's a very, very fun one to do. It's tasking, but that's what Radcliffe's goal was in the first place. Cards like Miko, Flit could stop that by discarding certain items, and certain cards could not destroy the cards, but decrease power, and also decrease the amount of characters you can play on the board in some way. Maybe, and also the card Savages could be in a condition card, where if another player gains power, you may play it, a certain amount of power, you may play Savages, search your deck, draw up to 2 cards, and you may play 1 ally in your hand for free. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm doing my best here. Cards like Pocahontas can bring John Smith back from the discard pile and shuffle him back into the deck. And if Compass is and with the Compass, well, if it's equipped, that character cannot be destroyed once, and the Compass is gone instead. It's going to take a lot of ideas in order to make these 3 characters work for this set. But I think I've made my case for a good majority of the cards. I mean, coming out with Radcliffe is not that easy because a good majority of the movie is focused more on Pocahontas and John Smith, and not so much as Radcliffe. But obviously there's got to be a card called Mine Me That Gold, where in retrospect, when you play it, you may send one card on your field to the discard pile, and you gain power equal to its card cost. That would be a way for another reason of Radcliffe using his men to his own greed. And we've already got a greedy character of Prince John, so it works. So that's my ideas for sinister strategies. And now for the final set of my ideas. This one, I had to think a lot because I originally had Gaston and Tremaine in the list. But when they were announced, I had to scrap them and make only one final one. And this one is called Games of Deception. And it's got 3 of the most deceptive villains in Disney. One of them, obviously, a lot of people love him. A lot of people hate him. But he is one of the greatest Disney villains to ever grace Disney. And also, how has he not been a villain in this game yet? I will never know. I am, of course, talking about Judge Claude Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And for Games of Deception, he is with Lady Tremaine. Not. I always get them mixed up for some reason. Mother Gothel is one. They are both somewhat similar, but for different reasons. One is selfish. The other one's a murdering hypocrite. Yeah, it sounds about right. Frollo's objective would be to start your turn with Esmeralda and the bonfire at Notre Dame. So it's another one. So this is my first one where it's 3 conditions at the same time. Because I'm not going to do another killing one because that just seems a little easy, especially for this game. Frollo's whole deck would be consistent of city guards, and of course effects in order to help him search out for Esmeralda, such as Hellfire, which would be to check the top 3 cards of the Fate deck and rearrange them in any way you want. Obviously, it would be kind of a poker face game because you can't let your opponent know that you're close to getting Esmeralda out on that board, because if they do, they're not going to Fate you as often, and if they do so, they're going to obviously choose not to do Esmeralda. And the locations would obviously be Notre Dame at the start, the Bell Tower, the countryside, and then the Court of Miracles, which I love. I love the Court of Miracles song. Another good couple of would be Witchcraft. A card I would love to see would be Saint or Sinner, which would be in a condition card for Frollo, where if an opponent gets fated, you may play Saint or Sinner, and you may look at the top 2 cards of your fate deck, either put them on the top or put them on the bottom. So it's basically a big thing about fixing your fate deck in order to work for your advantage later on in the game. And it also works to the advantage of another player getting fated more, even if they don't fate you, you can still manipulate your fate deck. Because I think a deck that manipulates stuff is well in tone with Frollo, because he manipulated Quasimodo, he manipulated a whole bunch of people, and it just suits his personality-wise. Other cards would allow him to... I mean, obviously he's going to have a Vanquish action, but he's not going to have a lot of allies. He's going to have, like, the Palace Guards, and they're going to have, like, 6 strength, so they can defeat basically any character. Fate cards that can definitely stop him would be, obviously... I mean, Captain Phoebus would obviously be a villain at the start, because that's what he was, until he would have, like, a courage count, a moral counter on him, where once Phoebus is played, place 3 tokens on him, and every time he defeats a character, he is not sent to the discard pile, you just remove a token. And once there's no more tokens, he will go over to the hero side and be a hero. He'll have no special abilities when he's on the hero side. Although there could be cards where, do your job, Captain, which will put 2 more tokens on top of Phoebus at the cost of discarding 2 cards from your villain deck. So, sacrificing everything you've got in order to keep this one objective going is a big thing for Frollo throughout the movie. So I think making that work with his villain deck would work really well. And obviously the big card I'm talking about, Bonfire, would be an item card, which would have to be a really high price because it's the final thing. But so once it's played, it can only be played at Notre Dame. And once that's there, it can only be used when a hero is on the opposite side of it. So what you would do is activate it, pay the cost, and you pay the cost, and the hero at said location loses all abilities until your next turn. So basically, let's say if Quasimodo was there, his ability would be when Quasimodo moves. You know what? I'm going to have his ability be specific. When Quasimodo moves, Frollo must discard okay, this one's a little tricky. Maybe if Quasimodo moves away from the bell tower, Frollo has to discard 1 card from his hand. Yeah, that could work because somewhere out there could definitely be a card to move Quasimodo away, because the more Quasimodo is within... I don't know, wait, that's too much of the Rapunzel thing going on, but I'll get that to when I review that one. It's difficult coming up with abilities. Coming up with ideas for cards is easy. Coming up with the specific abilities gets a little rough when you think a lot of them. Victor Hugo and Laverne could definitely be cards to stop Frollo a good majority of the times without having to fight. Such as making it difficult for him to move cards, making it difficult for him to pay the cost for certain effects. And Esmeralda would be obvious. She's obviously the key to defeat And there needs to be a card, Hellfire, where if Esmeralda is in the realm, you gain 5 power. If she's not in the realm, draw 1 card. There's so much that can be done for Frollo in this game. It's just so much that I can't even think of it all. But one that needs Callahan needs to be in this card in the game, because he's the narrator and he's the funniest character throughout the Feast of Fools and in the Court of Miracles. So maybe when Callahan is played, shuffle Frollo's deck and then reveal the top card. If it's an effect card, send that card to the discard pile. If it's an ally or an item or a condition, you may add it to the hand. So it's basically working on getting rid of Frollo's effect cards. And I think I talked enough about this guy. So Hellfire, by Hellfire, hopefully Frollo will be next. This one, much like Oogie Boogie, is a bit of a long shot, but one of my favorite villains. And definitely fits on the board of Deception, Yokai, or Professor Callahan from Big Hero 6. This one really got me as a superhero movie and as a Disney movie. And it's by far one of the best ones I've watched in a good long while. So his whole thing would be to activate Silent Sparrow and defeat Cray. This one would be really good having the University be one area, San Fran, Tokyo, the city being one location, the island, and then Cray Technologies. So, much like a good majority of these, Callahan was the only guy to not have anyone helping him, because throughout the movie, he had the Microbot. So his deck could be Microbot based. Instead of having allies, he'll have a good assortment of items, which would be the traveling Microbots, the fist Microbots, the spires that come out. So it would be Microbots, but also Microbots in various forms. So you would have to send a certain amount of Microbots from the board in order to play them, as well as the card cost. And they would also have their own ability. For example, for the Spires, when these cards are used to defeat a hero, they may reach out to the 2 areas next to them, because a good majority of villain decks have cards that can do that. Was there fists? No, there was the traveling one. During your next turn, you may discard Microbot Travel and return up to 2 Microbots from your discard pile to your hand. So basically, it's a good way of defeating enemies and also resurrecting old Microbots to use later. A big thing for the game would be the 3 parts of the Silent Sparrow, which was the portal that Cray used for the experiment that pretty much doomed Callahan's daughter. So throughout this game, you would have to use the Microbot arc in order and have all 3 of the Silent Sparrow pieces. Obviously, there would be 3 cards with a different image to show that it's different, just like they did with the Glass Slippers and Lady Tremaine's deck. It's the same card, but different image because there's 2. So you would have to have all 3 on the field and you would have to have the 3 parts, and then somewhere in the deck would be the full Silent Sparrow, and you would play that at Cray Technologies, where you would also have to have Cray there, activate it, and meet the conditions in order to defeat him. So basically, Callahan's deck would be basically Microbot and effect based, with obviously 2 condition cards. One of them could be No Remorse. This would be the scene where he's talking to Hero about Tadashi being a fool for trying to save him at the Night of the Fire. So, when this card is played, if your opponent defeats a hero, you may play No Remorse. Defeat a hero on your field up to the number of Microbot cards you have on the field. So, like if you have 2 travels, then you may defeat 2 heroes. Another card that depends on how many Microbots you've got on the field, which would work. Other cards could be duplication, which would be the scene of the Microbots on the conveyor belt with all the buckets. By playing this card, you do not move next turn, but you may search your deck for up to 2 Microbots and add it to your hand. So basically, a big thing about Callahan was giving up time in order to create more Microbots. So you would have to skip your next, you wouldn't be able to move your next turn, but you get more Microbots. Some of the hero cards could obviously be Big Hero 6, and each of them will do their own thing against Callahan. Maybe Wasabi. When Wasabi is defeated in combat, your opponent must discard the top card of their deck, and if it is a Microbot, Callahan loses 2 power. So after defeating, you lose some power. Fred, when Fred is played, you may, let's see, for Fred, I mean, he is a goofball. Anything, shoot, I forget his real name. Shoot, anything, you know his voice. Anything he's in, it's hilarious. So when Fred is played, you may... Now, you know what? When Fred is played, you can either take an effect card from the Fate discard pile, an effect, and shuffle it back into the deck. So he'll be the support, recycling card effects for you, for the hero cards. Go-Go would be a good one. Every time Go-Go moves to a different location, she immediately returns a card at her new location back to the owner's hand. So basically, she's basically a bounce card, which will, every time she moves, she will bounce a card back to the hand, which doesn't sound that bad, but considering how much because of Callahan's cards being worth a lot of cost and certain Microbots in order to activate, that really puts a hamper on the abilities. Honey Lemon would be a card that will, when she is revealed during a Fate action, you may play her and the card revealed with her. So if there's another hero with her, you may play it. If there's another effect or item, you can do it. Hero would be a good card. If Hero is defeated, Callahan would gain 4 power. And when Hero's on the field, while Baymax is on the field, Hero gains a big boost in power, making him more difficult. So 3. And obviously there would be 2 different forms to Baymax. One of them would be obviously the helper, before his all armor. And with that, it could be an effect like when a hero is about to be defeated, you may discard Baymax and protect that hero, basically. And with armor, he would have more power, but his ability would be every time he moves, you may move hero to... No, wait. Something to do with hero. When he is... When he's on the field, you can't defeat anyone. Hero cannot be defeated. That can be it. Yeah. As long as armor Baymax is on, you can't defeat hero. Simple as that. And there would have to be a card called Kill Code for the villain deck, because that's kind of helps Callahan a little bit. When play Kill Code, and that's the scene where Baymax goes all Terminator evil with the Kill Code card data. Callahan can when Armor Baymax is on the field, obviously, you may play Kill Code, and you can draw 3 cards and then discard the top card of the Fate deck. So even though in the movie it almost seems like that is basically how he gets away because of the whole Kill Code and revenge plot. And then we have Cray, who is absolutely useless. We'll give him 1 power because he's a sniveling little coward. And when Cray is defeated by Silent Sparrow, you win the game. Simple as that. He is the main objective, so it's going to be difficult for him to get into the field. Man, that was a lot of information for such a great, fantastic movie that really outshone Frozen. Yes, I said it, and I have no regrets. And now for the final of Games of Deception. What kind of gamer would I be if I was coming up with ideas for the villain card game and not have a villain that's based on a video game? I'm not talking about Sark or the MCP from Tron. I am talking about King Candy / Turbo. I'm having both of them on here because I think it would be really cool for this one to have 2 objectives. Not 2 completely different boards like Radigan, where it's either have the Robot Queen at the palace or defeat Basil once that plan goes to shit. But more so as have both be an option. With King Candy, actually, you know what? How would this work? Because you can't have 2 pieces. Although I would love if it's split down the middle and one of them is obviously King Candy and the other one shows Turbo, but with a different paint job. It would be really, really cool to show the duality of it. So basically what I have for tasks is complete Final Lap or defeat Wreck-It Ralph. And here's the big one. The levels would obviously, the worlds would obviously be Game Central, Sugar Rush, the race course, and the Diet Cola Mentos Volcano. So basically, a lot of the cards will be item and hero and character based. Having it be the other racers, the Dum Donut Cops, Sour Bill, and a good amount of abilities that allow him to tweak everything in his favor. Like, maybe with his own vehicle, it has to... Man, King Candy is going to be is a cool idea, but it's a difficult... I mean, I thought about the ideas, but ideas come and go. Like, you change your mind once in a while. Maybe for King Candy's complete Final Lap, it's a card Final Lap where you have to have at least 3 racers on the board and have King Candy's car at the racetrack, because you're basically racing around the realm. So King Candy would have to be in the lead in order for Final Lap to work. You would have to have... You can't have Vanellope on the board because if she wins, the game's reset and everything's all like that. And having her glitch be an effect card for the hero side would be good. With glitched out, Vanellope may move Vanellope to anywhere on the board. If her car is on the field, place her immediate... that would be a little different. Okay. Wow, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But the other big one would be defeat Wreck-It Ralph, where King Candy would have the Psybug virus mode as a card, which would be played immediately at the... Oh my god, this is difficult. maybe, which one do you guys think? I mean, I would like to know where King Candy has to finish the final lap card, or he defeats Wreck-It Ralph as the Cybug virus. I like both, but it would be kind of hard to play the game if you're going after two different objectives. I mean, okay, yeah, Radigan did it, but I think doing one is enough. Maybe defeating Wreck-It Ralph. Like, first you have to get... Maybe once King Candy's car is destroyed, then you... Yeah, that makes more sense. Defeat Wreck-It Ralph, which the only way you can do so, because the only card that would be strong enough to defeat Wreck-It Ralph may only be defeated by by Turbo Virus. Yes, Turbo Virus. Oh my god, I just came up with this on the spot. This is great. Wreck-It Ralph may only be defeated by Turbo Virus. When Wreck-It Ralph is played, you may destroy one item on the field at his location. Perfect, because he's gonna wreck it. So I think once King Candy's cart is destroyed, that's when you get to search your deck and add the virus form to your hand, and it will have the strongest amount of power depending on how many side... No, he won't get extra power. He'll just have the ability to, by discarding... During your turn, you may activate his ability, discard a card from your hand, and... Well, he is a virus, so maybe he'll destroy one card on the field that isn't Wreck-It Ralph in order to help, because the virus will destroy the entire area anyway, so why not have his ability being able to destroy other characters and items that aren't Wreck-It Ralph, increasing his odds of defeating Wreck-It Ralph. It would be pretty cool. Yeah, I like that a lot better than the duo final lap and then defeat Wreck-It Ralph. That does sound a lot better. I'm gonna change this just in case I forget. I love this idea, even though I'm just coming up with this on the spot on camera. It's good. I really enjoy this. Vanellope will obviously stop him from... Could stop the cars from moving. The other racers would have their own abilities, much like every other card ally that help. Sour Bill could, once he's defeated, return. No, wait. Sour Bill is a villain. So if Sour Bill is used to defeat a hero, send that hero back into the Fate deck and shuffle it up. That way it can't be reused from an effect called I Can Fix It. Obviously, if Fix It Felix is on the field, return one card from the discard pile onto the field at Felix's location. Because he's going to fix it, so he's going to bring stuff from the discard pile back. So Sour Bill is a way to get them back into the deck, so his ability won't work. Callahan would definitely be a threat. When she is played, here allies at her location lose 2 strength, which honestly is cool because first off, she's voiced by Jane Lynch, and second of all, she's bad as hell. Just gonna say that. And no, we're not gonna have Mario or Sonic make a guest appearance in this. Although I do think if they do like Game Central for like the location, for the first location, they need to put them like maybe little hidden in the image, like they did that little bird at the forest in Yzma's realm. So, I'm gonna do one more. 2 conditions that I can see for King Candy would be something that works for both of them. Encoded, which would be where he's going into the game's data to get the medal. When an opponent draws... Nah. Yes, when an opponent has at least 3 or more allies or items on their field, play encoded. Search your deck for up to 1 item and add it to your hand. And another one could be True Self, which would be when he's revealed to be Turbo. When an opponent discards discards cards, you may play True Self. Return 1 card from the discard pile to your hand. Something simple like that, because a good majority of his cards will be about getting the cards out immediately. And, my lord, I can't believe I did this video for so long, and I came up with a good amount of ideas as I'm talking. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining into this week's video, and I hope you enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and go check out Ravensburg Disney Villainous. It's a fantastic game. It's fun. It's fun for everyone. And you can finally play a game where being a villain is a good thing. And also, if you are interested, I mean, I haven't played it yet, but I am interested, go purchase the Marvel's Villainous set and be on the lookout for the new expansion coming out later this year, which will feature Loki and the 2 other villains I don't really know that well, but be on the lookout, ladies and gentlemen. Well, coming up next week, we end the month of April with a DLC that will have us fighting off some of Egypt's best creations, or some of the best curses Egypt has to offer. This is Gamer K, logging out.